Morning. Thank you very much for coming to this extra assembly. I know assembly is your favourite part of the whole school week, so to have 2 in 1 week, you are extra special. So what we have got today is we've got a different format for assembly. We have posed a question to each of these lovely volunteers that have chosen to take part, and the question is there a place for disposable fashion in the 21st century? So each house is represented up here, and they're going to present their argument of whether or not there is a place for disposable fashion in the 21st century. At the end, there will be an opportunity to ask questions from staff members, from the floor, but also from each other. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them at the end. Don't interrupt them as they are presenting. It may be that you have a question for an individual house or an individual person, that's fine. Or it may be that you're going to ask a generic question for everybody to answer. Okay? These arguments will then be presented in Perspectives on Monday. So it is being recorded and it will be shown in LVS Perspectives on Monday. Okay? And then a panel of our members from our WOW group will be selecting the house that put up the best argument, and the points will be awarded towards the House Cup at the end of this year. Okay, so we're going to go in alphabetical order of houses. So we're going to start with Brake, Buchanan, Coburg, Hart, Kennington, and then Melbourne. Okay, so please give them full attention. Some of them haven't had particularly long to prepare for this. So the fact that they are willing to stand up here and present is an achievement in itself. So thank you very much.
Right, I'm here to argue that fast fashion does have a place in today's world because sustainable fashion simply isn't viable at the moment. There are only a few sustainable brands out there: People Tree, Patagonia, Reformation, some of the biggest ones. But these are so expensive compared to the fast fashions that it outprices lesser wealthy people. They just simply cannot afford it. And when it comes down to the fact of whether putting food on your table and buying clothes for your kids that are sustainable or not, you're going to go for the cheaper option. Patagonia, a shirt from Patagonia costs £30 compared to Primark, which is only £5. That is outrageous. If you need to save your money, it doesn't matter about the environment. You're going to go for the Primark one. It's just the cheaper option. And furthermore, is it not more important to focus on the workers' rights? There have been many, many news stories over time about the poor working conditions for clothes workers in places like Bangladesh, India, paid nothing and treated terribly. I'd say that is far more important than whether it harms the environment. We've got to look after ourselves first, in my opinion. And also, there's a big problem with over-consuming clothes, but you can still over-consume sustainable fashion. That's still going to cause waste. It may not cause as much, but the problem's still going to be there. And in today's world, it's just not viable. Businesses can't change how they're operating just to be sustainable. It will cost millions, billions even, just to change that, and it will ruin many businesses out there. They just cannot do it without government support that currently isn't really there right now. There's no infrastructure available to fix these problems, so it's probably not going to happen unless there's change. And unfortunately, I don't see it coming. So, in my opinion, sustainable fashion just is not viable. The fast fashion is just how it's going to go, and there's not much we can do about it at the moment. Hopefully that will improve, but fast fashion is just here to stay, in my opinion. Thank you.
Bill Cunningham once said, "Fashion is the armor to survive the reality of everyday life." I believe that disposable fashion is crucial for our protection from the ghastly war between industries. Firstly, it is cheap and paves way for many employment opportunities. It employs around 300 million people around the world, many of them being from developing countries. By supporting disposable fashion, we are able to support unemployed people and also provide the money for their education. Disposable fashion is easily accessible for anyone. For instance, due to the pandemic, $3.7 trillion was lost as income due to cutting working hours, which means that a lot of people are not able to afford expensive clothing, which makes them turn to disposable fashion. Secondly, as fashion is constantly changing, we all want to keep up with the latest trends. As disposable fashion is cheap, it allows people to buy clothes that are applicable to a particular trend, and it doesn't make people feel left out. For instance, the 70s fashion such as bell sleeves and crochet dresses are all coming back now. And thanks to disposable fashion, it allows a large proportion of people to purchase these products. Finally, I am not saying that disposable fashion doesn't have its flaws. We must make sure that it does not have a negative effect on the environment. Fashion that has not been damaged but not used anymore must be given to charity shops or sent to other countries so that people in need can use them. At the moment, we are depending on fossil fuel-based materials, which release a lot of greenhouse gases and are difficult to decompose. So we must aim to depend on organic and compostable materials from sources such as food stock to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to make it easier for them to be decomposed with the help of microorganisms. For instance, it takes nylon 40 years to decompose, whereas it takes cotton only 1 to 5 months. The circular economy model helps to reduce the clothes thrown away, as companies are buying them back, cleaning and repairing them, and then reselling them to consumers. Stores such as H&M's Take Care initiative is promoting people to take part in this measure. In conclusion, we must be aware that it is hard to change people's habit of conforming towards the latest trends, and that we must look at this from a holistic approach, including how fashion affects the economy as well as environmental aspects. Hence, there is no doubt that disposable fashion has a place in the 21st century. Thank you very much.
Before I answer this question, I think it is important to see the positives and negatives. I'm not going to argue that it's entirely has a place in today's world, or it certainly doesn't, because if you look at what the consumers want in the 21st century, particularly now with, I'm sure the teachers can speak to this, the cost of living crisis, fuel's more expensive, cheap clothing is very, very attractive. Of course it is. And what Primark and a lot of these companies have done is they've managed to sweep that under 25 age bracket, which even across all social classes. But in terms of the viability of it, it just isn't viable, because 93% of brands aren't paying their garment workers a living wage, which is why these companies can afford to charge these very low prices. Particularly in the Far East, it's a real problem because it's an international problem. There's not an awful lot we can do about it in one individual country, and clothing production is the third biggest manufacturing industry. But then again, why would you want to spend £25 on a shirt when you buy £3 on a shirt and be able to afford it for food? The thing is, though, it all depends on the question you ask, right? Is there a place for sustainable fashion in the 21st century? Yes. Should there be a place? Absolutely not. More than £500 billion of value is lost every year due to clothing underutilisation and a lack of recycling. And Gary spoke to that there, right? It should be used in charity shops and things like that. But the way the system around the world works allows this sort of stuff to happen. It's an international problem, and that requires an international solution. And the market allows for this. So yes, there is a place for sustainable fashion in the 21st century. Do I think that's right? No.
What is fast fashion? Fast fashion is cheap, trendy clothing produced rapidly by mass marketing retailers in response to latest trends. The main idea behind fast fashion is to make inexpensive, low-quality copies of catwalk designs to send to stores. The product of fabric is a huge carbon emitter, releasing the equivalent of 1.2 billion tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. That's more than international flights and shipping combined. Fast fashion is getting faster. US shoppers buy 5 times more clothing than they did back in 1980. Around 80 billion pieces according to Diana Thomas' new book, Fashionopolis. That's an average of 68 items per person. In the UK, we buy more clothes than we do in any other country in Europe. Our rubbish truck of clothes is burned in landfill every single second. That's around 2,625 kilograms of clothing, and that becomes waste. This is enough to fill the entire Empire State Building over double every single day, and Sydney Harbour every year. Polyester is essentially fabric that's made from plastic fibers, and it is now most commonly used in fiber in our clothing. Plastic is made from petroleum, which requires enormous quantities of oil, and we really have a serious oil crisis going on. To grow cotton, it uses around 18% of the world's pesticide, and that's 25% of the world's total insecticide. According to the seminal fast fashion documentary in 2015, the true cost is over 90% of cotton is genetically modified. This is because it can be sprayed with chemicals and kill the insect and other pests. Fashion is the second biggest contributor to global warming. It's only second behind the oil crisis. And we still use oil to make our clothes, like I said in my previous point. We are slowly killing the environment. And for what? Just to be stylish and trendy for a month? So please, the next time you consider buying a bucket hat, or a pair of Yeezys, or nice shoes. Whenever you decide to buy a nice pair of shoes, think about the effect you're having on the environment. Thank you very much.
Is there a place for disposable fashion in the 21st century? Well, my immediate response to this question was, of course there isn't. We've all heard of the detrimental impact our clothing habits are having on the planet, not to mention the horrible working conditions for people labouring over what? A trendy new top. But then I realised, whilst this is the obvious answer, it's not the answer that's reflected in our wardrobes. We buy more clothes per person in the UK than any country in Europe. Around 300,000 tonnes of used clothes are burnt or put into a landfill every year. That's the equivalent of one rubbish truck being burnt every second. To help put 300,000 tonnes into perspective, that's 42,860 elephants. Can you even imagine that many elephants? I don't think we even have that many on this planet. In an age where there is a constant feeding of media giving us what we should be wearing and what is trendy, it's easy to be swept up by the desire to be fashionable. Fast fashion allows us to keep up with these micro-trends. Another thing you will find, especially among our generation, is idol culture. We see their incredible new looks and we want to copy it, but we can't afford a new designer wardrobe every day like they can. That's where fast fashion brands step in to provide us with cheap lookalikes. There's been a cultural shift over the last 10 to 15 years. A decade ago, most consumers thought it was crazy to go and buy new clothes more than once a month. For many people, purchasing clothes has become an addiction, especially during the dullness that COVID brought. Clothes shopping has become more than just leisure. Now cheap prices and endless styles make buying clothing almost like buying groceries. It's become so cheap and accessible. We know it's practically a click away at all times. When you buy your clothes, there is more than just the price on the tag. There is also the hidden cost, the labour and the carbon emissions that it took to get into your shopping bag. It all sounds like the end of the world, and it's definitely not a topic that should be taken lightly. However, it's not something we can't fix. We can fix it, but we can only fix it if we start making real change, not empty promises and just sharing Instagram stories. practical change. We can blame the fashion industry, and we can blame the greedy people at the top, but they're only responding to our needs. It's up to us to say that we don't want it, or we don't need their products. Fashion is dependent on the people. If we demand sustainability and take action like boycotting unethical businesses, they are forced to change their ways or lose their money. I don't take business studies, but I know without customers it's pretty hard to make money. According to the World Bank, 40% of clothing purchased in some countries is never even used. Think about the positive change that we could make if you just bought what you really wanted and needed. That's all it takes. Second-hand and pre-loved is another better option. The good thing about trends is that they come and go. Things circle round. Thrift stores are in rising popularity because older fashions are coming back in and new generations can enjoy them. You could donate clothes to charity shops or thrift stores to lengthen their lives. One thing that our school could do to aid sustainable fashion is a school clothes swap, or like a thrift store. We could open a stall every few months. The truth is, most shoppers don't see where their clothes are coming from. Everything that's going into it. No one wants to take the time to educate themselves because they know it takes effort to change. So yes, there is currently a place for disposable fashion, but there doesn't have to be, and it's up to us to spark that change.
The fashion industry is having a major negative impact on the environment, with 10% of carbon emissions coming from it. For example, the fashion industry is currently responsible for more annual carbon emissions than all the international flights and maritime shipping combined. If the industry maintains this course, within a decade, greenhouse emissions will increase by 50%, affecting many areas of the earth. By analysing the cause, the next steps are easier to understand, helping to create solutions. Tilly will now add on this point.
Although fast fashion is not sustainable, and we have a responsibility to do what we can to improve the situation, we need to be aware that some people may not be able to afford brands that are considered more sustainable. More expensive sports brands, such as Sweaty Betty, are likely to be longer lasting than clothes from somewhere like Primark. But many people can't afford to spend £80 on a pair of leggings. There needs to be more options for people on any budget to buy more sustainably. But together, we can make a bigger difference. Ways in which we can have different clothes to wear whilst minimising our environmental impact is shopping at charity shops, buying things on resale sites like Depop, or even making clothes yourself. So we can all make small changes to be more sustainable. The world's population continues to increase, so we need to come up with more solutions to live more sustainably.
Cheap, disposable clothing made without consideration for environmental and labour conditions by companies like Zara, H&M and Primark is something that both the planet and its people are paying the price for. Zara alone churns out roughly 840 million garments every year, often at sub-poverty wages for its workers. Our once thriving rivers in China, India and Bangladesh, wrecked by wastewater effluent from factories, have transformed into biologically dead zones replete with cancer-causing chemicals. Tiny plastic microfibers shed by synthetic garments during laundry are inundating our water supply and our food chain. This is undoubtedly not healthy or sustainable. You think you're saving money by buying cheap clothes that you can just toss, but the environmental impact of making and throwing away all that stuff is actually very costly to our society. We need to put integrity back into our fashion. We have to dial our consumption back because the world just isn't big enough to hold all of it. The average garment is worn only 7 times before it's thrown away. We're not investing value into our clothes that we're buying, and we need to start doing that. In the 21st century, where understanding and technology has vastly improved, surely we can come up with a functioning, healthy solution and change the narrative around fashion and the environment to a positive one.
Okay, so we've now got the opportunity to ask any questions that we would like to, as I said, to either individual houses or to the groups, the group of presenters as it stands at the moment. So I'm going to ask behind if anyone's got any questions that they want to share first. Okay, so I'm going to kick off just so there's one that's gone. So obviously social media being a big player in the 21st century as well, how can social media help with making fashion more sustainable? And that's a question to every house.
Social media can certainly spread awareness and promote the idea, but honestly, it's not going to do much change. You need people at the top, people with the money, people with the power to do stuff. And Instagram and Twitter and Facebook aren't going to have the power to control that. It's just not going to happen, in my opinion.
I believe that social media can bring a huge change to more sustainable methods of disposable fashion. Because what customers need is the trust from companies, and companies are now being able to be more transparent to people, and therefore customers can get information more quickly and easily through social media. So by grasping the trust from companies, more customers will be willing to buy more environmental friendly products, and therefore will increase business, adding to the economical part of businesses. So I believe that social media can bring a huge impact towards disposable fashion.
Action comes from the top, right? And I think social media is actually where the most talk happens without an awful lot of actual action, because you'll see people put on their story, oh, save the planet, and then go buy from Primark. It doesn't work like that. You can't do that. And with the way that what needs to change for sustainable fashion to even be viable, there has to be a change internationally, because one of the biggest problems is on minimum wage. Big businessmen won't go to Britain for this because they want to be able to charge a low price. But what you need to do to charge a low price, and anyone who does business can obviously understand this, is you need to be able to lower your expenditure, right? And you can do that by just paying lower wages. Social media isn't the answer to this.
I believe that social media can only spread awareness, but I don't think it can help in the long run. For example, if you're going to go through Instagram and you're scrolling through your friends' stories, eventually you're going to find a little ad that's hyping up a brand new shop on the internet or talking about some brand new jewelry. The only thing social media is good for is spreading awareness. Sure, everyone says that, oh yes, I'm going to do this, oh yes, I'm going to do that. But in the end, only a small percentage of people who actually say that do as they intend to do. Social media is only there to inform, and I don't personally think it can make any significant change.
I think we can all agree that social media has a massive impact on us, especially, our generation. I think that while social media does hold responsibility, it is down to us. So, like I mentioned in my speech before, mentioning it on your Instagram story is all good and well, but if you're not doing practical change, then you're not actually changing anything. And your empty words are just as bad as not saying anything at all. So one measure that social media could take is taking down posts that are spreading false information. Or if any of you guys have had Instagram or TikTok, I'm sure you've maybe seen the Shein hauls, where they've got £500 worth of clothes, all for the value of like £5 or something crazy. They could take down those irresponsible posts, and they could also push forward content that's supporting sustainable fashion instead.
Social media is the easiest way to get information to the largest amount of people possible. With this, we can use it to get people to buy more sustainably. Everyone does care about our planet, as we want to stay around as long as possible. So if people start using social media to make positive change, by talking to your friends about where you bought your clothes at a more sustainable shop, or going thrifting, which is now a popular activity that you may see on TikTok, then we can use this to make more people think that this is a good way to buy new clothes.
Hello. I've got a really good question for you. For you people who are the sustainable fashion people, that is, what is sustainable fashion? Isn't it just ordinary fashion with a higher price tag, made in smaller quantities? What makes it sustainable?
I think you can find sustainable fashion in any kind of fashion brand, as long as the clothes that you're buying, you're actually planning on keeping them to wear properly and not just throwing them away next week to discard it for the next new trend. There are already a lot of new sustainable fashion businesses that aren't all insanely expensive. You just have to look for the right options. And I think people are just so used to leaning on comfort brands like Primark and H&M that they can't be bothered to look for the things that are already there.
So, I'm broke, so I'm gonna be frank. So I obviously like sustainable fashion, but what classes as sustainable? Sustainable is something that lasts in the long run. So for me personally, I like buying things a little bit bigger for me so that they last a bit longer for me. Sustainable also means by how good the quality is. It doesn't have to be how cheap it is, but how good it actually is. Sure, that means I'm £5 down, but it's sustainable for myself. If we all decide to take a sustainable fashion, then we can surely make the world a better, healthier, and safer place for our future children. Thank you very much.
Sustainable fashion can be any fashion that's worn more than one time, well, a lot more than once. If it doesn't break or rip or it needs kind of things to keep it going, then you can wear it more than once and loads of times in the future. This is much more sustainable. I also think that sustainable fashion is fashion that's been sourced sustainably and made sustainably with kind of ethical thinking around how it's been made.
As all the speakers have said, sustainable fashion is when you make clothes which are long-lasting, and therefore you would need, so the process to make these clothes will be longer than for disposable fashion. And the aim of sustainable fashion is to basically use the same clothes for a longer period of time as it doesn't get damaged easily. But there is a negative towards that. Coming back to the point of trends, if you're using the same clothes for a longer period of time, you won't be able to adapt to certain trends which are coming up in the future, and therefore you might be unhappy that you don't fit in with people. Because it is important to know that we can't ignore that we all have this innate trait for us to conform to certain trends, and therefore with sustainable fashion you're not able to change the trends in the future. So that's why disposable fashion is more important.
So I actually think the most important part of your question is on price, right? Because I've heard Angelina and Jabari talk about, yes, we should buy things, and yes, they may be more expensive, but a lot of people just can't afford it. And with the, the mention of, we should be looking to do this, looking to that thrift shop, stuff like that, that's not the way the market operates. People are going to do what's convenient for them, and until it's convenient for them to go to these places instead of places like Primark, like Angeline said, like speaking and looking in the right places. At the minute, the easiest places to find that stuff is in places like Primark, where it is unsustainable. So there has to be a whole market shift before we can start talking about sustainable fashion being the only way we can go.
Sustainable fashion is simply fashion that is just sustainable for the environment and that will help our world last longer. But unfortunately, these sustainable practices are just too expensive for our current world and just not viable in the market, and there's not a place for it at the moment. So even though sustainable fashion is sustainable for the planet, it's not sustainable in the world, in my opinion.
Has anybody got any questions for anybody? Oh wow, we got some fantastic questions. No, thank you. I actually find that very rude and disrespectful, so please don't. Young man.
So this is to all of you who are against fast fashion. You keep talking about these environmental impacts. What will they actually lead to in the future?
To be fair, I was surprised anyone actually asked a question from the audience, but look, I'm not saying this is right, but I'm saying that's how the world operates at the minute, right? Large amount of people aren't going to go to sustainable shops in a day, but I do agree, right? Fashion is responsible for 4% of man-made emissions in the world. Although that's a lot, there are a lot more pressing problems, and we can sort of deal with those 2 to 4%. We do need to move towards sustainable fashion. What I'm saying is not that there should be a place for sustainable fashion. I'm saying there is in the way the world operates today.
I'm very sorry, but I'm going to be a bit bleak here. If it carries on, fast fashion, with the other problems that's happening in our planet won't be here. Our humans will not be able to survive on our planet. It will heat up. We won't be able to survive how we have for billions of years. We're actually quite small as a species. Like dinosaurs, for example, were around a lot longer than we have, and they went extinct through natural causes that they didn't cause. However, we are causing these natural problems, and it will cause us to not be able to live on our planet. And you may be thinking, oh, it's in a long time away, we don't have to worry. It could affect our generation, and it definitely could affect our close generations further down the line, and we can only stop it. You may have heard that by stuff like 2050 or 2040, we won't be able to stop the changes of global warming, and this is very serious. We need to stop it now before it gets to a problem where we can't go back.
I think that's a really good question, because words like climate change, global warming, carbon footprint, they get thrown around so much they sort of become buzzwords. They go over your head. You scroll through your Instagram feed and you see it and you just go right past it. Because we've been fed it so much, and it's such a serious issue that I think we forget how much those words actually hold. 2050. Imagine not being able to undo everything we've done by then. Everything you do now can change what happens in the future. And I think these words get said so much that we almost don't believe them. But it's important to remember that you can actually make a change by doing smaller things and by telling other people to do the same.
Good afternoon and welcome to LVS Perspectives 40, can you believe it? Coming up to 2 weeks since lockdown, that's when it all started. These sessions, online discussions and educational discussions, that are national and local topics. And today we're talking about, is there a place for disposable fashion in the 21st century? And this project was actually sparked by the WOW group, and we're going to be hearing from Jarmila, who's our chair, in a moment. And we were looking at key issues about sustainability, EDI, CSR. And so we're starting with sustainability in the fashion industry. And on the 18th of March, as you've just seen, we had a whole school debate. So that was in our senior school assembly, and each house presented their argument whether there is a place for disposable fashion in the 21st century. And today we welcome a panel of experts. So not only do we have Jarmila here in a moment, who's going to kick us off, but we also have Antonia Timpanys, who is the CEO of Sign of the Times Chelsea, Sara Ibrahim, who is a sustainable fashion stylist, Paul Kent from Community Inspired, and Oliver Spark from Sweet Analytics. But what I'll do is I'm going to go straight up to Jarmila. Jarmila, tell us all about this, and then please introduce our guests and give them a couple of minutes to explain who they are and what they do.
Oh, thank you very much, Christine. Oh, it gives me absolute pleasure to be here speaking with you all today. For those of you that don't know about the WOW, please permit me to give a quick plug to the WOW group. We are the LVS Ascot School parent body of entrepreneurs, business leaders, people in business, and we come together to bridge the gap between education and the world of work. And what we do, we use our insights, connections and influence to bring world of work topics into the school, to get students inspired about where their studies can take them, and thinking about their creativity, their innovation, and linking that to business topics. And of course, in most recent times, we have been talking a lot about, since COP26, a lot about sustainability. There are other topics we've also been raising as well, such as equality, diversity and inclusion, corporate social responsibility. And so in the WOW group, we thought, well, let's see how we can tackle this within a school setting and get the children to think about what this means to them from juniors right up to the sixth form. So today we kicked off listening to a debate that the senior school were having, and today on the panel we've got some experts within the fashion and sustainability space to talk about the topics. I am Jarmila Yu. I'm a small business owner myself, Unique Marketing, a small strategic marketing consultancy, and we work with purpose-driven entrepreneurs and small businesses and brands who impact our world for the better. So I feel that I have a place on this panel to join you and talk about the importance around brand reputation as well on the topic of sustainability. So with no further ado, I'd like to welcome the panelists. If I bring you each up in turn, and if you could give a couple of minutes introduction on who you are and your business and your interest in this topic. I'll start as I see you on the screen here. If you could start please with Paul, and then we'll move to Oliver.
Hello everyone, yes, my name's Paul Kent. I'm the co-founder of Community Inspired. We work with over 15,000 parent-teacher associations in the UK, and our interest in this part of the market, in this sector, is in creating a sustainable recycling program for all schools. Our members currently recycle over 1,000 tonnes of clothing every year, but we're aware that a lot of this clothing is actually sent abroad, where it becomes a problem for other countries. So what we're looking at doing is finding a solution whereby PTAs can collect clothes, they can reuse and resell clothes, and then sort the rest so that they can actually be recycled and reused abroad as well.
Fabulous, thank you, Paul. And if I could hand next over to Oliver and then to Antonia.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all. My name is Oliver Spark. I run a customer and marketing analytics platform, an agency called Sweet Analytics. So that's sort of really good marketing jargon for you all. But I come from a retail background myself. And actually my career I worked for Courage, which is a brewery, followed by Scottish and Newcastle. So the LVS felt particularly relevant to me when Jarmila approached me about it. So we work for about, Sweet Analytics, we work for about 80 brands. We cover a whole spectrum of brands, from those who have B Corp, one who has won a special Princess Trust Award for sustainability. And so we see the whole spectrum of different brands. So I come to this really as a retailer myself, and I think it was really interesting seeing all of your presentations, because the key thing, I've always come from is my job has been to sell more. And I think at the core of a lot of retailers, that is the basic objective. We're all trying to sell more. And those of us who provide marketing services, we're there to try and help brands sell more. So I felt all of it was very interesting hearing the different views from you all. So I'm really interested as much to learn from all of you what really matters to you, because we see with all the brands that we work with that sustainability is a big issue, both positively and negatively, but really in the context of overall that most people are about trying to sell more, and that's the sort of fundamental of retail.
Thank you, Oliver. And that certainly is a conundrum I can sympathise with from the marketing space. Yes, we want the numbers to go up and to the right. We want sales to be increasing, but we are living in a world where we need to be taking careful considerations about what that really means. Antonia, if I'd hand to you and then to Sara.
Sure, great. Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. So I'm Antonia. I'm CEO founder of Sign of the Times. And Sign of the Times is a luxury managed resale marketplace. So ultimately, all that means is that we do everything to do with reselling your luxury items. We handle coming to your home, collecting anything you want to sell. We then handle the marketing and selling via our website and via our store in Chelsea. And then we just pay you. So it's kind of for those people that really can't be bothered to upload items on Depop and eBay. We handle all of that for you. So I think to the point of some of your students, and it was really interesting to hear, I absolutely loved listening to the debate, that actually people don't choose to shop pre-owned that much right now because it's a really secondhand experience. And for me, I'm all about reinventing resale. We actually want to make it better than retail. So at Sign of the Times, we offer same-day home delivery and same-day collection for our sellers. And we handle all of our communication via WhatsApp. And we really want to make buyers think about shopping second first. I'm incredibly enthusiastic about shopping second first. And I think actually, potentially, it's arguably one of the most sustainable things you can do is to shop something that's already been produced, rather than actually choosing to buy something new. So that's why we want to make it as easy as possible.
Fabulous. And it's a great way to now the bargain too.
Absolutely.
And Sara, if I could hand over to you.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. And thank you for being, I'm really, really happy to be here because as a sustainable stylist, for me, talking about sustainability, it's always, a pleasure. So thank you again for having me. So I'm Sara. Nice to meet you all, and I'm a sustainable personal and fashion stylist. I got my qualification at the London School of Styling. I'm originally from Italy, and I help professional female entrepreneurs mainly who still struggle with their self-esteem, who stand in front of their wardrobe and keep saying, I don't have nothing to wear, but it's not really, it's a little bit lying because they have a lot to wear. But how can we make it, happen and stop wearing sizes first and acknowledging themselves, acknowledging their body shape, because I strongly believe that sustainability starts from there, starts from your needs and priority when it comes to your body shape and your color analysis, for instance, and try to make your wardrobe easy, happy, joyful for you, for your body shape, your colors, your needs and priorities. So I help them to make all of that easier and happy, as I said. And when they need to buy something new, they know where to buy. They go to certain places when it comes to vintage, when it comes to charity shops, secondhand, pre-loved items. I love what Antonia said, because this is the 90% of what I do with my clients, but they buy what they need, not just because they want to wear something because someone else said that was cool or trendy.
Fabulous, love that. Reinventing fashion for yourself.
Yeah, creative, a lot of creativity.
and there's a lot of confidence that you get from fashion.
Yeah,
sustainable
absolutely.
Fashion doesn't mean we have to just be wearing everybody the same thing and a sackcloth. Fashion should be there really to support us. I think we've been joined by one of the school teachers as well. Rebecca, would you like to come on screen and introduce yourself, and then I can hand back to Christine to manage the panel questions.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it's just my year 10 class are literally just in, so this is probably not the best time, but hi. Yeah, nice to see you. I'm just fronting up the eco-fashion side of things in the school. So we have an event coming up on the 6th of April. I didn't know whether you wanted me to do my advert for that now or wait a little bit.
Rebecca, if it's a good time for you, you can do it now.
Yeah, okay, 2 seconds. Yes, now's a good time. Okay, yeah, so I just wanted to talk about the event that we have coming up on the 6th of April, which I think ties in really well to what a lot of you were talking about in terms of making sure that we persuade our young people to try and buy secondhand as their first option. So we've got an eco-fashion swap shop coming up. So essentially what that is we're asking people to bring in clothes, secondhand clothes that they have. We're going to collect them in the week before the fashion swap shop and then sort of exchange tokens for the kids. So let's say a designer handbag would be 10 tokens, t-shirt from H&M would be 1 token, and then we are going to give them the chance to purchase other people's clothes with those tokens that they have. If they don't have any clothes to bring in to swap around, then they have the opportunity to purchase tokens, and then all of the proceeds that we get from that would go to a sustainable charity. So I think that it will be a really great opportunity to try and get as many people involved as possible. And I think it ties in really well with everything that we're talking about. And I'm just so pleased that we have this forum and this platform to talk about eco-fashion and sustainability as well. So yeah, hope that that's
wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Rebecca. And just for the parents that are listening, can you just remind again, because I'm a parent at the school as well, it's always mad sort of juggling the diary, what date should those children be coming in with the clothes to swap? What date?
So the swap shop is on the 6th of April. We're going to take in clothes anytime from the week previously. So that is I don't know the date for the week previously, but
the week before the 6th.
They can bring to the reception. The receptionist will bring them up to W21 for us.
Fabulous. The whole week before the 6th of April. Lovely. Fabulous. Thank you. And with that, I'll say back to the studio to Christine.
Hi, there's a lot going on, and thank you so much, and thank you for our panellists being here. So we are open to questions from parents as well. So like normal with any perspectives, if you've got any questions, please put them through on the chat as well. Now, on the video there, we saw various children in school who I thought did an absolutely amazing job. I mean, you never know how these things are going to go, but I thought they present such a wide range of statistics and arguments to and against disposable fashion in the 21st century. So just to tell you who they were, so the first person we had was Jack from Brake House, then we had Gowrie from Buchanan, and we had Sam from Coburg, Jabari from Hart, Angelina from Kennington, and then Charlotte, Tilly and Grace from Melbourne. And they also took questions from the floor as well. And I've just got to do a shout out for Jack Lines. Well done. Your question was brilliant. It's very hard to hear it on the video, but we clarified what was said this morning, and the responses you got from the floor were incredible. So well done for that, Jack. And I think it was really quite a lively debate. So our panellists are actually going to come up with some suggestions who they think is the house winner. Those suggestions will go through to Mr. Kubo, who's manning the email box there. But we're also sending out a form this afternoon, the Microsoft form, and you would have received an email notification about this morning, that we want our parent community and our staff body and our pupils to be able to vote whether they believe or not that there is a place for disposable fashion in the 21st century. So just going back to our panellists now, and just and start with you, Oliver, just to gauge your opinions on this, because you mentioned the word money, and obviously businesses are out there to make money. And I threw it open to the assembly this morning, and I said, why do you think EDI and sustainability are at the top of everybody's agenda? And the first thing that was said is, and they shouted out, is to make money. And I said, yeah, okay, and that shouldn't technically be the primary focus of sustainability and EDI, but at the end of the day, that's the reality. Oliver, in your industry, in your analytics, what are you seeing? What are your views? What are your opinions on this?
I think going back to the making money bit, I should have perhaps also said I'm really a retailer. But myself, I ran a company called the White Company, which some of you may know. So I think the real problem, and I thought, is that as a retailer, that is the primary objective. And usual corporate life is about making money. It's about using what you have to do that. And I think the only real thing that I think is becoming current now is that the sustainability message is part of the potential to make money. So I personally feel that we have a number of brands, as I say, at Sweet, where have sustainability as their core values. And I think that in terms of making money in the future, sustainability is probably going to be one of the key values that could be at the heart of it. I think it was really interesting hearing all of the guys talking today, because it's so interesting. You are the people who are the purchasers, and there is definitely a gap at the moment between the statement of we believe in sustainability with the actually, do brands really see it making a commercial difference by having that sustainability? So for me, the really interesting point, I'm afraid, is that we still continue to need to make money, that there is a growing need for sustainability to be a core value, but there is at the moment still a gap between the stated objective of what people say and what they actually do, so that unfortunately it doesn't quite yet translate into actually, do I sell more by saying I'm sustainable?
Yeah.
Really interesting was that the arguments on both sides were so good. And, and you can see, there is a place for it, and no, there isn't. So what advice would you give to our young people today if they're going into this business, they're going into retail in the future about sustainability? What advice would you give to them?
Me personally, I'm sure others have much more relevant views, but I think, Jules, I think for me personally, and again, this comes into personal, the sustainability point, we do all have to save the planet, and that has to be the fundamental value that you guys will bring to this debate. That is the most important thing. So you have to find a business model that sustains the people who are, as we know, fed, whether there are, for all the arguments about, people not being paid a living wage, etc. There are enormous amounts of people sustained and fed off retail, both in the production and in the selling. So I think really the challenge for anybody at the moment coming into this is how you produce a business model that feeds everybody in production, doesn't sort of kill the planet, but still allows the high street to be full, the streets to be full, because that's where the money is made. And unfortunately, it's a difficult question of how you're going to resolve that, but that is the thing. So whether Elliston Street can be kept full by having Sign of the Times there is probably a key question, really.
And I think if any of our students can tick all those boxes, I think they're going to do very well, because that is a big question to ask and a solution, big solution to find for the future, isn't it? So Antonia, your business started off quite small, and now you've moved to Chelsea. Can you tell us a little bit more about your business and how it's grown?
Yeah, of course. So I first started my business actually straight out of university. My mother very kindly lent me some money, which I managed to pay her back. And I started in a very small village, very close to actually where you guys are, in Sunning Hill. The business grew really well. We actually had our 2 front windows, and then our third was actually Facebook. And we noticed that we were selling really well through Facebook, enough so that it meant that we could grow into a larger store. So we moved to Sunningdale, also not too far from you guys, and we grew really fast, and we actually outgrew Sunningdale. And at that point, I made contact with a really wonderful woman who owned Sign of the Times. Sign of the Times was actually the first ever store selling resale in London. So it opened in 1947. So it's been going some 45 years. And I actually approached her and asked if she would be willing to sell the business to me. And she very kindly said yes. And so I then acquired Sign of the Times, and I've merged my previous business and Sign of the Times together. So we are selling both in-store at Sign of the Times on Elliston Street and online via our website. So it's been a really exciting journey. And yeah, one that I hope I'm just at the beginning of, to be honest.
Brilliant, well done. And is the awareness increasing now? Do people know that they can exchange or sell their goods? Is it changing?
To be honest, absolutely. I mean, when I first opened in Sunning Hill, people used to come in and they'd say, don't tell my friend that I came in here, like, don't tell her that I bought this secondhand. And it definitely used to be a dirty little secret. And now people are singing from the rooftops that they bought something pre-owned. I mean, the Duchess, if she wears something twice, she gets applauded in the press. It's totally different now to when I first started. And, that's fantastic. I think the much younger generation, so 2 down from me, they're all about the thrifting. They're all about buying second. They find, it's a badge of honor. So we're very lucky that we are very well primed on this kind of wave of resale. It's actually predicted to be double the size of fast fashion by 2030. So we really are just at the cusp of it becoming a real thing.
That's brilliant. And you've heard of, we've got our buying event on the 6th of April. So what encouragement or what advice can you give to our pupils and staff who are running this event? What would you say to them?
Oh, I might pop down actually. sounds like my cup of tea. To be honest, just enjoy it. Honestly, I think I've been in retail now for, I guess, 10 years and still love it as much today as I did the first day I started. And I really hope that it gives some of them a taste for what they could go on and do. And yeah, I'd be delighted to speak to any of them if they're interested in coming into this space. So yeah, just enjoy it. And I think of it as a kind of, I don't know, an economic opportunity, understand how business might work and look beyond just under the hood to see how things work and how they might be able to expand on it.
Brilliant, thank you. And Sara, okay, so you're invited into the wardrobe, right? Say my wardrobe.
My wardrobe.
What would be the first thing you'd say to anybody when you look in their wardrobe?
Are you still wearing sizes, or do you know your real body shape? And unfortunately, the majority of the time is my size is 10. I used to be 8. I would love to go back to 8, but that's not my question. My question is, do you know your real body shape and how to flatter actually your real body shape? So that's the biggest challenge, let me say, and that's the start when it comes to being a more sustainable consumer. Because if you know where you are, if you know how to flatter your body shape, you will potentially buy for what you need. And you will actually guide yourself into specific designers, brands, and businesses that they are doing what you need to flatter your body shape better and to feel modern look great. Because I think that fashion should actually make us feel and look great, and ourselves acknowledging our identity and personality, right? So if you start from that, if you know how to flatter your bottom part with your upper part, your arms with your head, I mean, your body, it's made to be from different areas, and all these areas need to be balanced. And clothes can help us in that because they are amazing tools and treasures, as I always say. But the point is, if we keep saying, I used to be one size and I want to be that size, I'm not that size anymore, it's following again an idea that is not for us, it's made for someone else. But we should actually focus on our priorities and needs, because we are different people and everyone has different needs and priority. So, and the second thing is try to track what you already have in your wardrobe. If you know what you have, you will stop saying, I don't have nothing. I'm not happy with what I have in my wardrobe. You should track what you have. You should own what you have. And then again, filling those gaps to make your wardrobe even better, buying from right designers, buying what you really need to fill those gaps. And in the end, you will have an amazing wardrobe, and you will stop wasting time, money. Going back to the money question, it's really important when it comes to your wardrobe, stop wasting money. If you don't wear what you already have, you are losing money. If you keep buying clothes that you are not wearing because you bought them just because your sister has it, because your friends, because your partner, because you saw them on Instagram because you thought that that was cool, but it's not really for you, again, you are losing money. So yeah, your wardrobe should be ready for you and should help you to stop wasting money, time, energy, and space.
Thank you. I mean, one thing I've noticed as I've got older as well, when I was younger, it seemed to be a set fashion that you wore. Everybody kind of wore the same thing. But now it's kind of anything goes as well, isn't it? One of the children on the debate was saying that, you know, like clothes from the 1970s are coming back. It just makes you wish I'd saved all my mum's clothes from the 1970s. So I might be really trendy now. I mean, are you seeing that now? It is anything goes, isn't it?
Absolutely. When I was a teenager, I'm 39, and I still remember when I was a teenager, it was not really cool and trendy actually wearing vintage clothes, right? I was the strange one. I loved stealing, you know, stuff from my mom's wardrobe, right? And I was loving them, and it was cheap. It was for free. So why not? I was a teenager, didn't have any money. So it was perfect for me. But I was the strange one. I was the one, well, she likes fashion, so she does this kind of strange things, you know what I mean? But now when I see my clients, for instance, daughters or sons, and I see them wearing vintage clothing, wearing secondhand clothing, go to swap events. I always constantly collaborate with organizations that organize, you know, swap events, and it's full of young people, and that is like, yes, the revolution is happening, you know, you can see it.
Thank you. And Paul, we've got our Year 11 prom will be coming up, Paul, and also our Year 13 leavers event. And obviously this is a good opportunity, and I know you're speaking to our PTA this evening. What is there something that we could do here as a school? Is there something that we could get off the ground? I mean, now's the time, isn't it now? Because I know some parents are out there frantically looking for prom dresses. Have you got anything that you might be able to suggest to us, or any adventures that we could do with you?
Yes, absolutely. We've been looking at this for some time, and one of the areas is prom dresses and the prom itself. And we know that there are about 200,000 prom dresses which are bought every single year, and 80% of them are never worn again. So this is single-use items. It is fast fashion. It's the most important day of children's lives, so it is important that they want to feel good about themselves and celebrate what they've achieved. Because that's what proms are. They're a celebration of education. And so what we want to do is we want to encourage them to donate them back. So these items are donated in, they're cleaned, they are sorted, and then they're made available for the following year, and the following year, and the following year. So that prom dress can get used 4 or 5 times and then sold as well, so that it has added value. It is saving stuff going to landfill, and it works out. It's about 30-40 million pounds a year of single-use items. So it's really important that we try and do something about those items.
Thank you. I mean, it's really great to hear everybody's views and the great work that's been done out there and raising awareness of it. So if our panel can email in who they who they think was probably the person who really got that actually extra special in our debate. So we had Jack first from Brake, Gowrie, who was second from Buchanan, Sam from Coburg, fourth was Jabari from Hart, Angelina from Kennington, and the last 3 girls were Charlotte, Tilly and Grace from Melbourne. If you could email into Eamon, we might have a result shortly. And just to let parents know about other things that are going on, today in Assembly we had an assembly on EDI. We explored that topic and we introduced the tech ball. The sports department had fun. There was a few near health and safety moments with balls flying across the room, but it was really, really, really good. And next week we're going to be bringing it all together to talk about corporate social responsibility in Assembly next week, and we'll probably have another project going on, another Perspectives with a panel next week for number 41, and also a voting session as well. So there's a lot going on, so we can wrap all this up before the end of term. But I'm just wondering if we do have any kind of definitive result coming in. No, we don't have any definitive result coming in. So what we'll do is, panel, if you could could you give us your second choice? So that might be able to tip it a little bit. We're not getting anything. If you can email Eamon who you think, if you've got email, the email address for Eamon there. So has everybody got that email address? Have we got anything coming through? We've got one coming through. So let's see if we can get a result. And I know, Jarmila, you're not voting because your daughter was taking part, but I must admit she did extremely well. So well done. And Jarmila, you know, we talked about prom dresses as well. Are you, and your daughter's raiding your wardrobe. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, very happy to. So as in the true spirit of WOW, we are here to share our insights, connections and influence. So yes, I can see that having this topic has really made an influence on the students. Hearing all of them speak, they were all fantastic, giving their viewpoints, taking up their time to do their own research. It's fantastic to hear that. But yes, the influence, it wasn't just to give the talk. At the weekend, my youngest, who was a participant in the audience at Friday's assembly, she is now the worthy recipient of 2 of my pairs of shoes, because she said, "Oh, mummy, I think I should look at what size are you?" And so she's now got 2 pairs of my shoes. And my eldest, Angelina, came to me and said, "Well, we need to go prom shopping, but before we do that, could I possibly look in your wardrobe, see if you've got any evening dresses?" And she's now got 3. One fitted her perfectly, only because, and I'm not her size, but because it would cling to her, but it would stretch for me. So it's perfect fit for her on that case, no adjustment needed. Second one needs a little alteration, and the third one does need alteration. So I said, well, we might as well get 2 altered at the same time. So she is very lucky. She's acquired 3 of my dresses. So I'm going to classify it as she will be in a vintage number at prom. And that one, unfortunately, Paul, it's not going to make its way back into the economy, because she is going to save that one. It's a rather special one. She's going to save it for her first red carpet appearance, because she is hoping to continue on with her drama studies and one day make it to a red carpet. So so she has said that she will treasure it and wear it on the red carpet. So I'm going to hold her to that. So who knows, we might see her one day. I won't be on a red carpet, but at least my dress will make it there.
Thanks, Jarmila, and maybe more of us, we can start doing that as well. I know my daughter pinches my shoes, for example. I often see her out and say, I recognise those, and obviously, you know, good on her for doing that as well. So we do have a result actually, and it's a tie. And it's a tie between Jabari from Hart House and Angelina from Kennington House. So I think rather than try and divide the vote, we'll award them both first prize. And we'll make sure that the 2 individuals, Jabari and Angelina, will have a prize at President's Day as well. So look, thank you to our panel. So thank you for coming forward, giving us all your views and taking part in this exercise. And we'll let you know what the outcome of the vote is this afternoon. So if you're a parent and you're watching, you'll get that form this afternoon. If you can please return it by tomorrow 4 p.m, and then we can know what our community thinks. Okay, so thank you to our panel. Thank you, Jarmila, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.